Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious this Friday, September 20th, 2024. I've got this Russian spacecraft behind me here. This is a seminal day for the moon and landing on the moon uncrewed. We're going to be talking about that today. We've got an astronaut birthday today and one Saturday and Sunday over the weekend. We want to remind you of three popular astronauts. And just our usual stuff we're going to talk about today. How about a cheeseburger at the International Space Station? Who was craving that some 3 decades ago? You'll know who that person is, and we're going to talk about that with STS-79, one of the shuttles of the month of September. So say hello to Marty Winkel, my co-producer. Marty, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mark. How about you?
Well, we got through a week together, first time in a while. We both, he was on vacation, we got sick, I had some days off. So we had a good week here together, and here at the American Space Museum, there's our beautiful front facade there, where we're a flag-waving American museum for sure, about our terrific space program, unlike any other on the face of the earth, of course. GoHistoryTravel.org, our good friends there. The Ramanujans traveling around Europe right now. Financial contributors to our museum. We appreciate all their help. They're going to be helping us with Shuttle Fest, helping fund some of the astronaut travel arrangements there. So we appreciate Mal and everybody, that whole family there. The mom's name is Mal, and
Ron.
pardon me?
Ron?
Yeah, Ram the dad, and the son is, forgetting the son's name there. But GoHistoryTravel.org, they take you all over the world, but they will take you so deep into things you won't believe it. Like going out to Robert Goddard's plaque out on the golf course where it is in Auburn, Massachusetts, stuff like that. You'll be thoroughly entertained by them and their Facebook page, so we appreciate them a lot. And we also had 2 great interviews this week. We'd love for you to revisit if you missed them. E. Lee Wilson, KSCVC communicator and science-based artist, talked about his beautiful artwork, and we enjoyed that a lot. And Mitch Rothman, space influencer with his Facebook page, Man Space. I believe he's on his way to the UK right now, Marty, with his lovely wife. And catch those interviews. They were a lot of fun, and these are 2 new members in our inner circle of our friends here on Stay Curious. So, Marty, you got a comment or question?
Yeah, comment from Doug Forrest. He's reminding us that the son's name is Barat.
Barack, thank you. Yes, he had a picture with Barack. And thank you very much there. Doug Forrest, a terrific artist out there in Los Angeles, he got a picture with Barat and him looking at Endeavor when it was all being brought in to be put up vertically there at the Los Angeles Museum out there. So we appreciate it. I don't have my phone on today with me. I didn't bring the smart tablet. Marty will take care of that for us. I did bring my phone. We want to remind everybody that we have a memorabilia show coming up in about 6 weeks. If you're local, you can bring your memorabilia there to be appraised, and hopefully you bring your pocketbook to buy some stuff there as a way that we support our nonprofit, but also reach out and just have a good time. We love these events from the standpoint of just meeting you, the space lover out there, exchange some greetings, and it's just the space community that we're proudly building here at the American Space Museum. So make plans for that. We're still trying to get an autographed astronaut. Marty, I did talk to Jan Davis. She's got 2 new books out, or a new book and a book about her and her dad, who is an Air Force pilot. She'll be coming the week after. She's a snowbird with her husband, and she'll be coming the week after. So we're working on a couple other possibilities there, and I think 1 or 2 of them will pan out. But thank you, Ken Havicott, of his space memorabilia business, for sponsoring us. Bid Again Auctions, and Chuck Jeffrey, who conducts our auctions that help raise a lot of money for the museum. And Marty, I'm looking at what that's on the bottom here. What is that? Right there.
It looks like a cable.
Where? Is that a piece of, no, I don't know what that is there. Anyway, it's something that might be on the camera. Anyway, and computers, advancing education, they have helped us get all of our computers in the building. They're a local nonprofit that gives laptops to kids all over our county here in school. This lovely woman, want to tell you about Natalia Sepulveda. Natalia Sepulveda is going to launch a bilingual STEAM education program with us here at the American Space Museum. And we're excited about that. It will be October 5th, 2 weeks from this Saturday. Natalia is quite an educator. She's a bilingual, best-selling children's book author, translator, and editor. She is a Ron McNair Fellow, that's the Challenger astronaut, with a master's degree in Spanish from the University of Central California. And she owns her own bilingual lifestyle publishing. You don't have to speak Spanish to come to this. It's an additional thing that she's having with with the 30 students that we anticipate having there. That'll be the max thing there. I've gotten to know her through a couple programs I've done with her. And again, we lost funding for our regular STEAM program. Natalia is stepping up to do this program for us free once a month. That's how passionate she is. So thank you, Natalia, and you'll be hearing good things about her and helping us here at the American Space Museum. Well, I got a little bit of breaking news, and we can't figure out what that is, Marty. Huh.
I think it's on the camera lens. I think.
Okay. Blow on the lens there. Don't blow in my ear, but just blow.
Chair.
It's this chair over here. Okay. All right, let's get rid of that chair.
There you go.
There we go, everybody. Okay. Wearing shorts today, folks. Yeah. That was bugging me too. In there. So let me put my glasses on so I can read a couple things. Breaking news, folks. Breaking news. There's another fabulous comet approaching the Earth. Now, at least 2 or 3 times a year, we predict a new comet of the century. We cannot predict comets. They're the most finicky things in the solar system because when they get near the sun, they melt or evaporate. They create 2 tails. One is a tail of debris the solar wind's blowing off. Another is a tail of gases and stuff that the heat's blowing off. Well, this comet has returned from behind the sun. This is photographed 2 days ago when it was only 6 degrees above the horizon. This is an Australian photographer, so when we get Cliff Watson on, he might be looking for this in the morning. It's going to swing from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere in early October. And this is a prospect to be a negative magnitude comet, which means it would be visible in broad daylight. All right. So we're going to be looking for it about the first week of October when it'll be in our evening skies. Makes its closest approach to Earth October 12th. It's possible the comet will be so bright in the evening sky from October 10th afterwards. So again, anything can hop into a comet. They can just be blown apart. They can just fall off. Think of a melting iceberg and the solar wind is blowing the comet's tail. Interesting thing about comets, Marty, is when they come around the sun, the tail is in front of them, not behind them, because the wind is blowing the tail away from the sun, so they're actually moving into the direction of the way the tail goes. And the tail can be 1,000,000 miles long, and all the material would fit in a suitcase, so to speak. Most comets are generally 10 to 5 miles in diameter, by the way. So we'll be keeping an eye on this comet that's called Shinshan, named after an astronomer to help discover it with an array of automatic telescopes that are constantly scanning the skies for these things. So we talked a lot about birthdays on the International Space Station, as Sonny Williams had her 59th birthday, and we discovered about 89 astronauts have celebrated their birthdays on the space station, and several of them multiple times, including a Russian who spent 4 birthdays on space. And I didn't even put my hat on during the whole time, Marty, so I'm going to make sure I do it here. And Steve Jokums thinks my hat does kind of look like the astronaut pin. And we're going to try to make a new hat for me that looks like that, Steve. And I know you're watching today. Congratulations on your wonderful award for you and your wife on your sports car. He's a big sports car aficionado. And if you find Steve Jokums on Facebook, you'll see what all I'm talking about there. So, and but happy birthday. Today is the 64th birthday of Jim Polasek, Pawelczkyk. He is the first full-blooded Polish astronaut to go to space. There were a couple Poles that went up with Russia, but they had maybe mixed blood. He's the first American astronaut of full-blooded Polish descent. That's right, there was a cosmonaut that went before him in 1968. He spent 16 days in space, Dr. Jim Pawelczky did, on STS-90, which was the NeuroLab mission that my friend Kay Heyer was on. He is now a doctor of physiology and kinesiology at Penn State University, Nittany Lion. There he is in his office. And 16 days in space on one mission. You know, he may have wanted to fly more, but didn't. But that makes you a full-blooded astronaut for sure up there. And they were doing a lot of neurological experiments in the space hab. They actually had a chair in there that they could spin people around and do all kinds of experiments on the human body up there. So happy birthday to Dr. Jim Pawelczky. He is 64 years old today. Tomorrow, we've got a birthday of this astronaut, Rick Hebe. Richard James Hebe was born September 21st, 1955 in Jamestown, North Dakota. I believe there's 3 astronauts from North Dakota. Didn't somebody tell us that the other day? What 3 states do not have an astronaut? We've talked about this before, Dave Stange. What 3 states have no astronauts from their home borders? I'll tell you in a minute, see if anybody guesses there. Robert Law might know that. He's having his Friday cocktail. Don't be looking it up there. Okay, Carlton Bailey. 31 days in space for Rick Hebe on missions STS-39 and 49. And he was a payload commander for STS-65. 3 spacewalks, and he was on the first ever 3-person extravehicular activity on STS-49, the maiden flight of Endeavour. There he is looking at a coin here recently. Spent 14 years at Lockheed Martin as an executive, involved with the University of Boulder Smead Aerospace Engineering Department. And he is from Jamestown, North Dakota. What 3 states do not have an astronaut yet from them? First one's Nevada, then Vermont, and the last one, Wyoming. No astronauts from Nevada, Vermont, or Wyoming, but the other 47 states, including Alaska and Hawaii, do have astronauts. And we got a Sunday birthday. Robert Lee Bobby Satcher Jr. was born September 22nd, 1965. That'll be Sunday, so he'll be 59 years old. He is the first orthopedic surgeon in space on STS-129, and he did 2 spacewalks. He certainly would have been more in the queue for other space shuttle missions, but the space shuttle era ended. And then you had 10 years in between getting anyone but Russia to take us up to the space station. So he called it quits. And at the time, it was 12 years that he was the last African American to go to space until Victor Glover went up with Crew 1 of the Space Crew Dragon in 2021. And of course, he's been followed by other African Americans like Cyan Proctor was on the St. Jude's mission about 3 years ago. Jessica Walters, she's the first African American woman to spend time on the space station in an expedition crew. So Bobby Satcher, quite an intelligent man, PhD in chemical engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, medical degree from Harvard, and we understand that he's involved with the University of Texas Anderson Cancer Clinic in their Department of Orthopedic Oncology. So, Bobby Satcher, great. Hope you have a great birthday on Sunday, and he's doing great things out there. Continually, still a young man in his mid 60s, and a lot of life left in us old senior citizens. I'll tell you that, like myself. Well, there's Bobby Satcher with Bert Dick, and Bert Dick is the membership chairman of the National Space Society. And Bert, we're going to work on Bert coming in next Friday, Marty. We have a crewed launch on Thursday where we're sending bingo, forget who, I've been talking about him all week, and a Russian up to the International Space Station. And that launch will be about 2 in the afternoon on next Thursday, so we're looking forward to that. And who is the guy going up? Somebody remind me out there. I didn't bring that note with me. I've been talking about him a long time. Crew 9, yeah, Marty.
Somebody comment, excuse me, from Tom Celentano. He says Dwayne Graveland was born in Vermont but never went to space.
Okay. Close but no cigar is what we can say there. Terrific. Thank you all for chiming in. We got the most intelligent group of people watching our program than anybody. Well, I love reminding you all, particularly at the end of the week, we get 15 humans orbiting the Earth, and here they all are. And we'll just quickly recap that up in the upper right-hand corners, the newest crew on the space station. 12 are on the space station, International Space Station, and 3 are on the Chinese Tiangong Space Station. Well, Soyuz MS Crew 26 there includes Don Pettit on his, I think it's his 4th trip to space. They've been up there 10 days. He and 2 Russians, Alex and Ivan. This is Don's 379th accumulated day in space. The Russian in the middle on his left-hand side, let's see, Don's on the right in his picture, and on the upper left in the middle is the commander. He's been up there 384 days total, and the other guy, Ivan's, been up there 204 days. So very experienced crew up there for Expedition 72 is what they'll be segueing into. And then let's look at Butch and Sonny there in the blue suits. They won't be riding them blue suits back. They'll be in the SpaceX suits. They were launched 108 days ago, folks, on an 8-day mission. Okay, kind of sounds like Gilligan's Island there. Launched June 5th. Like I said, this is their 108th day. They didn't even pack they only packed a week's worth of clothes. But of course, a couple supply ships have taken them up stuff. Butch has been up there a cumulative today 286 days in space. Sonny has been up there 429 days in space. She's accumulated up there on her 3 International Space Station missions. Sonny calls it her happy place. Butch says, doggone it, I'm a test pilot. I wanted to ride that Starliner back, but we celebrating Sonny's 59th birthday. I'll bet her mom and family's got her gifts ready to give her when she comes back in February. Keep in mind, we like humanizing these astronauts. Butch has got a wife and 2 daughters on Earth here that are dearly missing him, and they're going to be missing Christmas and all the holidays because they're going to be up there till February when Crew Dragon 10 goes up there. They're going to come back on 9, which is going to be launched Thursday. And Nick Chubb, is that the who? Why am I saying Nick Chubb? Who's the commander of Crew 9, somebody tell me before my head explodes. I'm trying to think of who it is. Then the lower left-hand corner, that's Crew Dragon 9 that we saw launched in Marty, in March, Marty. This is their 201st day in space. They'll be coming back, probably right around the last days of September or the first days of October, once the Crew 9 gets docked and settled in there. We got, so they've been up there 201 days. Matthew Dominic has 200 days in space now. Michael Barrett is in the middle with his arms folded. He is 65 years old. I forgot to tell you, Don Pettit is 69 years old. So we got 2 senior citizens up there. Their email just crammed with Medicare supplements and burial insurance. You better believe it. Jeanette Epps there. She's been in space now 200 days. Barrett has now accumulated 413 days. And Alexander Grebin, the Russians, another rookie that was been in space now over a little over 200 days. Who is it, Marty?
According to Neil 1030, it's Nick Hague, and I just verified that.
Yeah, Nick Hague. Thanks, Neil 1030. Nick Hague, I'll be talking about next week when he gets up there, because the Russian he's up there with, and I believe it's Wagner. I'm just getting one of those 2 Russians was with him on an aborted Soyuz launch that they went up to 70 miles and came back down because the second stage something went wrong with it, and that's quite a hairy experience to live through, and they could talk about it on the International Space Station. How cool would that be? We got a couple more here. We got 6 more people of this 15, and that's MS-25 there. Tracy Caldwell Dyson's in the middle. They were launched March 23rd, 181 days in space for this mission. That gives Tracy over 370 days in space. Oleg Konyenko on the left is the most experienced space traveler in the history of all eternity. Over 1,107 days now in space he's been on 5 expeditions to the International Space Station. And Nikolai Chubb has been up there 371 days. This is his second mission. So all of these missions are about to end, all right, and clean the slate, all right. And as I've been telling you, they've all been up there for well over 6 months. And also up there for 148 days. All of them up there over 4 months for sure. And this is this Tangong space station crew of the Shenzhou 18. 2 rookies were on board there. Lee and Lee. There's 2 guys named Lee, and then 1 guy Yi. And Yi Guan, right above my shoulder there. This is his 3rd trip to space, 330 days. I believe he was the second Chinaman to go to space there. So love letting you humanize the 15 humans going around our globe 16, 17 times a day. Quite amazing. Of course, 2 weeks ago, the record was set with 19 in space when the Polaris Dawn crew was orbiting the Earth. They did not visit either space station, of course. So now you know to stay curious. Well, this is a odd-looking little spacecraft that really did an amazing thing. This is a working model in a museum of the Russian Luna 16 lander. It's about 8 feet tall. You can stand right up to it. At the very top there, with the bulb on the top of it, is a spacecraft rocket to come back to Earth. This is how, and this scoop right here, right above my arm, once it landed, it scooped up a bunch of dirt from the moon. This is the first robotic probe to land on the moon and return a sample of lunar soil to Earth. All right, the first of 3 times Russia did this. America has never done this except we've harvested some material with the help of ESA from a comet, and an asteroid has been brought back to Earth. But it brought back 3.5 ounces from Mare Fecunditatis, which is on the lower right-hand side of the moon as you look at the full moon. This was a big deal. This was the third time in human history that an alien surface was brought back to Earth. Of course, the other two being Apollo 11 in the previous July 69 and November 69 for Apollo 12. So this was a new, that they tried a couple times and had some crashes. This is Luna 16. This is actually the picture of the soil that came back from the moon. We didn't see this for decades later when some of the relationships with the Soviet Union thawed. It did a core sample in a scoop and put it up at the top. That arm there that you see over my shoulder went up and dumped it into a receptacle that ended up putting in the ball. That was the reentry sphere that went through the Earth's atmosphere. Just think how complicated this was. In 1970, Marty, yeah, what are we talking? 54 years ago, huh? And still, America's never done this, all right? So, quite a feat. We know where it landed, of course, by Lunar Orbiter Reconnaissance has photographed it there on the surface of the moon. That is the descent stage that was left. As you see there, all that is, the Russians didn't cover up things, and all of those bulbous things are the fuel, to maneuver it, to land it, and all that sort of stuff. And so they made a big imprint there when you see it from orbit about 60 miles high in these Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photos. Celebrated, of course, with stamps. There it gives you an idea how it lifted off. Okay. Kind of gives you an idea when we go back to see the bulbous areas on the other side. That was the fuel for the ascent stage there that you see on this. So wait, did it wrong. I should have done it like this to show you the ascent stage separates about right there. So beautiful stamp. They sent 2 other probes, Luna 20 in 1972, brought back 1 ounce of the moon. And Luna 24 brought back 6 ounces of the moon in 1976. And that was the first landing on the night side of the moon. And 3 tiny samples, 0.2 grams, 0.2 of a gram of the Lunar 16 soil were sold at the Sotheby's auction house for $442,000 in 1993. And then they were resold again at Sotheby's in 2018, maybe 25 years later, okay, doubled the price, $885,000. 0.2 grams sold for $250,000 or more in 2018. Now, it is illegal to own the moon samples from Apollo. Don't even mess with that. This is a slide I put in there to show you how the lunar samples were retrieved by our astronauts. These were the actual cups that they would drag on the lunar surface and put them in there, sample the numbers and all that stuff. So, and of course, we've had other vehicles land on the moon. This is the Indian rover. This year, this is India's rover that went on the moon. Israel put a spacecraft on the moon in the South Pole that tipped over, as did Intuitive Machines out of Houston. But both the vehicles worked well until the lunar night killed their power sources. The India vehicle lasted through 2 lunar cycles, which is, of course, 28 days in the cold, 14 days in the dark, 14 days in the light. So Russia, India, and but they've not brought back any samples, okay? The Soviet Union and China now, I'm trying to spit out. China has brought back Twice they brought back lunar surface, once from the back side of the moon just about 6 weeks ago, that we need to follow up and find out what they found on the back side of the moon. So always love talking about the moon because I'm a lunatic, right? Well, somebody who was not a lunatic but thought a lot about the moon and its import on the American prestige in the eyes of the world, on these Chris Calley artwork of our friend Chris, that he sketched these on these postal covers and then sells them. On this date in history, September 20th, 1963, President Kennedy, during a United Nations General Assembly, suggested the possibility of Russian-American cooperation in space, all right? Though not proposing any specific program, Kennedy stated, quote, "In a field where the United States and the Soviet Union have a special capacity, the field of space, there is room for new cooperation, for further joint efforts in the regulation and exploration of space. I include among these possibilities," said President Kennedy in 1963 on this date. Kennedy said he proposed a joint expedition to the moon. This didn't get very big headlines, Marty, all right? Of we will go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. No, this was a different tack. Surely we would explore whether the scientists and astronauts of our two countries, indeed of all the world, cannot work together in the conquest of space, sending someday in this decade to the moon, not the representatives of a single nation, but the representatives of all humanity. And that's why I love pointing this out on this date in space history, because it is a goal that we're doing now in space as we celebrate a relationship as the crew of STS-79's emblem, the logo says here. And of course, I'm going to tell you what that meaning in art is of this in my mission patch book of patches and so forth. Let me get the 79 here. STS-79 was a space hab mission, the fourth shuttle docking with the Mir space station, and they picked up astronaut Shannon Lucid, who was 188 days with a bunch of Russian male cosmonauts on that outpost in space. The lettering of the crew names, either up or down, denotes the transport up to the Mir space station or return to Earth, all right? And the patch is in the shape of the space shuttle's airlock. Didn't make that connection, Marty, but that's why it's shaped like that. The shuttle's airlock hatch, symbolizing the gateway to international cooperation in space. The patch illustrates the historic cooperation between the U.S. and Russia in space. It is the first NASA American crew member exchange. With the flags of Russia and U.S. as a backdrop, the handshake of an EVA-suited crew members symbolizes mission teamwork of crew members and also between both countries' space personnel in science, engineering, medicine, and logistics. This 1996 mission fulfilled the dream of space 33 years earlier of President Kennedy's vision that the superpowers must cooperate in space. We couldn't get China on board, all right, but we did Russia, and we're still partners with Russia, as we just talked about, being on the space station. What is it, 4 Russians, and I didn't add it up. I think it's 7 Americans and 5 Russians up there right now. William Reedy was the commander. Terry Wilcutt was the pilot. Marty, we met Terry a bunch of times. We love him a lot at the Kennedy Space Center astronaut encounter. Tom Akers was on this. John Blaha was dropped off on the International Space Station, while Shannon Lucid was brought down after her 188 days. Jay Apt and Carl Waltz were also on that mission. And all that Shannon Lucid could think about up there as she was coming home was A Cheeseburger in Paradise. Jimmy Buffett's famous song was the wake up song in September 20th, 1966, up there on the International Space Station. That was what she wanted for her first meal when she came back, was a cheeseburger in paradise. And there's the whole crew up there in space. That's John Blaha in the middle being dropped off. Shannon is on the far right there, her hair to pigtail, and the other astronauts up there. There's Terry over Shannon right there. What a great guy. There they are eating around the mess hall, so to speak. There's the table there where they cook their food, for better terminology there. So cooperation with the International Space Station was solidified on this date in 1996 with this exchange of crew. And John Blaha, this was his last mission. He'd already visited the International Space Station as a commander. No, as the Mir Space Station, I mean, as a commander. All right, folks, we're coming to the end of our wonderful little Friday program here. Hope you're enjoying it. Marty, you got any comments or questions there for me?
No, sir.
All right. Did you give me the people? Yeah, you gave me the list of people. Doug Forrest, Dave Stange, Steve Jokums, Carlton's watching, Bailey, Tommy Usiak, Tom Celentano, Neil 1030. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching today, guys and girls out there. And hope you all enjoy your weekend. I know Steve Jokums and I, we're going to be getting up early to watch the Formula One race in Singapore. Boy, is that a beautiful night race there on this marina up there in Singapore. That's one of my passions too on there. So can't leave the weekend without giving you a little bit of heads up of what's up in the sky. I'm trying to get you to talk like an astronomer. And the moon is 18 days old today, Marty. So that would tell an astronomer that, the moon's not going to rise until 11 o'clock, because when it's 21 days old, it'll rise at about midnight. So 18 days old, it's going to rise about 10:30, around 10:15. I didn't look it up. I think I have it in front of me here, in fact. So why not look it up, Mark? 14-day moon in the 28-day cycle of our natural satellite. That's the full moon. So full moon was Monday, as everybody knows, and saw that big harvest moon with a little bit of earth shadow on it. And moonrise is 9:09 p.m., so I was off a little bit. So it's going to set at 11:05 in the morning, so you'll see it in the west tomorrow morning in the daylight. But it is 18 days old. Little over 80% of it is illuminated. So we call that the gibbous phase of a moon there. So now you're talking like an amateur astronomer. And we got that comet that's coming up. Also, I think many of you have noticed out mowing your yard, walking your dog, whatever you're doing in the wonderful evening twilights of the last full week of last few days of summer. All right. Sunday is the first day of autumn. And we'll probably talk about that Monday as we do a little backyard astronomy. But the first day of autumn is just around the corner. So when you're walking outside and you're looking in the west, there's a bright star above the horizon. In fact, you're going to think it's an airplane, probably, because it's so doggone bright. That's the planet Venus, all right? And pretty soon we're going to be seeing the planet Jupiter. If you're up about 11 o'clock at night, there's a super bright star in the east, and that's the planet Jupiter. And to the far right of it is another bright star, and that's Saturn. So we'll be talking about Saturn and Jupiter all fall, as I'll be having my telescope out, putting those celestial wonders in people's eyes out there. So, but you can still see now the Milky Way, and the Milky Way is a great thing to look at. It's not all really the summertime, all right? Milky Way is actually best in October. It's directly overhead when the sun sets and it's starting to move over to the west. So you're going to be seeing the band of the Milky Way if you're away from city lights. So get out and talk about that. And I will be talking about it Monday when we do some backyard astronomy stargazing here to stay star curious on Stay Curious. So, folks, thank you very much. We appreciate everybody who has seen this view before. Many of you watching today have been in our museum. We're so grateful for that. That's looking over the models that were built for the Nixon administration of the Orbital Processing Facility. There are real consoles right there that were used to fuel the space shuttle. We have so many one-of-a-kind things here. It simply drops people's jaws, including the people involved with the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. They know that we have a gem here of things that they don't have, and that they don't display things as close and homey as we do here. So thank you all for supporting us. Please check out, let me whip that up there again for our good friends, Bharat and Mal and Ram, the Ramanujans, for their generous contributions. Go to their gohistorytravel.org, and they also have a Facebook page, and they are just amazing with the details that they pull out of there. So, Marty, thank you very much for a good week here. We are still challenged a lot with losing our director, Karen Conklin, tragically dying of cancer now a month ago. And but we're doing the right things. We've got a very active board now that's trying to put things in place so we can continue strongly throughout the rest of this year and for decades to come, organizing our beautiful little museum here. So thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. Beautiful last weekend of summer here. Until next time, I'm Marquette saying I cannot wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. But Marty, I forgot to say happy birthday, Anita Truex. We just had a little birthday party for her, our office manager. We love you, Anita. You do a great job, and continued good health to you. So until next time, I am Marquette saying goodbye, and I'll see you again to bridge the space between us.